and twist it, it will create a patterned cane that I can then use to decorate, to pull down, to back, to push into a puck, do whatever design work that I want to do, I can then do it. But this is a part of component making where we're just fuming something to get it ready to then attach it or add it to a different part of another project. If you're interested in learning how to make different types of canes, I have a video over how to make my eyes, and I talk about different ways to make different patterns and different canes, depending on what you want to do with your personal pattern work. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that spiral cane and I'm placing it on the loop of my pendant that I just made, and it's kind of making a vortex shape. So now I have just added a new point of interest or intrigue to my jewelry, just as an additional way to decorate my pieces with more silver fumed accessories. The last technique that we're going to cover today is something I've wanted to play around with for a while, but before we do anything, we need to heat up our glass blank tubing. What we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage the glass to expand its molecular structure so that when we add the silver to the clear, it then embeds itself within the wall weight. What we're trying to do is make sure that the glass is essentially sticky enough to hold on to the silver. The reason why borosilicate glass is so great to use for chemistry and science experiments is because it's very difficult to introduce impurities into the molecular structure of glass without rapidly altering its structure by aggressive heating and cooling. All fume work is the introduction of a quote-unquote impurity into the surface of the glass, which in this case is silver. That being said, silver and gold work completely differently, and there is totally different techniques that you will need to use to introduce gold into the surface of glass. So what I'm trying to achieve with this particular piece of tubing is I'm trying to gather multiple layers of varying degrees of fume. So what I've done is I've fumed the blank, I've added dots to my blank. I'm now going to melt all those dots in. I'm going to not force the fuming off the outside of the glass. Normally you can just use an extremely hot heat, an over-oxidized flame. You can literally brush off all that vapor with your torch if you don't want anything in between those dots. But I am looking to save that fume, and so I'm using a more reduced flame so that I can bake it into the surface. What I'm showing you right here is that I accidentally got that silver fuming too hot, so I immediately pull it out of the flame. I'm readjusting it to a cooler flame, essentially more propane, less oxygen. Then I'm going to refume that blank. So what happens if you get the silver too hot is that it'll literally boil off of the end of your piece of borosilicate rod, like the rod you're holding it with, or even if you're using quartz as your rod to hold it. So now that I have it refumed, I'm adding another layer of dots. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to trap as much color of the silver as I can in each layer in varying degrees so that it creates a almost watercolor effect, the way that people paint or draw pools, the way that it ripples, the way that it catches light, the way that it sparkles. And I hope that this kind of shows the idea of what I'm trying to get at here. And you can do as many or as few layers as you want. I might do some more layers on here, but this is the end product of trying to create what would look like rippling water. So yeah, well, I hope you guys enjoyed today, and I'll see you next time.